Yesterday in New York City, Trump supporters put on a rally where they drove around, waved Trump flags, and the event was billed Jews for Trump. Maybe it has something to do with what we've been seeing with the Orthodox community protesting against the draconian lockdowns and targeted lockdowns from the governor and the mayor. For those that aren't familiar, the Orthodox community has been targeted pretty heavily by the local government, saying that they were the hotspot. They're the ones causing the COVID outbreak. However, many have noted that there are several hotspots in the city, and for some reason, it's the Jewish people who are being targeted. But of course, at this rally, far left extremists attacked these individuals, pepper spraying them. There were arrests. Local coverage shows much of what you'd expect. The police coming in, arresting anti-fascists, things like that. Now, this story in and of itself, I don't think is the most groundbreaking news, the earth-shattering story. It's just another example of what happens when conservatives go out minding their own business, speaking their mind, and the left shows up and attacks them. It's part of a pattern. I want to mention something I find really interesting here, though. It's strange to me to see conservatives going out and protesting, rallying. It's not something they typically do. I think this is a sign that many liberals have switched sides and are now influencing conservatives to go out and rally. Because I've talked to a lot of Trump supporters and they always say, oh, no, I'm not the kind of person to do that. But now people are actually going out and doing it. Of course, there are diehard Trump supporters who want to go out and do it. But I think we're seeing much more organizing from former liberals. Case in point, Brandon Strzok, who's leading massive walkaway rallies around the country, people marching through the streets, even in Beverly Hills. And he's a former liberal, so he knows how to organize, and he is. Well, you have this story from Fox News about a family describing being attacked that I want to read for you. But the bigger picture that I want to get into is I've now heard from several people that the appropriate response to this is to vote for Joe Biden. And my only response is, what? Why would I vote for Joe Biden when these people are physically attacking those who want to vote for Trump? I'm not going to show them that their tactics work. In fact, I will show them their tactics don't work. And it's because of the illiberal behavior and the violence that these people deserve to lose. Joe Biden could easily come out and say no to Antifa, no to the far left and the Black Lives Matter extremists, but he's not doing it. Let me read you the story to give you the news on what happened in New York. And then I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. The Atlantic has a new article up saying that, these liberals voting for Trump. Doesn't name me, but he names certain individuals who are liberals voting for Trump. But I take personal issue with the argument that I want to present. Fox News says a family of 7, including 4 kids, were pepper sprayed by violent rioters on Sunday while participating in a Jews for Trump rally in New York City. A spokesperson for the New York Police Department said 11 people were taken into custody after the rally descended into chaos and violence Sunday afternoon. 6 people were charged with disorderly conduct, obstruction of government administration, and harassment, while a 7th person was charged with assaulting a police officer and resisting arrest, the NYPD said Monday. A convoy of hundreds of cars draped with American flags and Trump 2020 banners rolled slowly through Manhattan and Brooklyn on Sunday afternoon. The caravan traveled from Coney Island to the Trump Tower in Manhattan before heading to a rally in a Brooklyn park. At some point, skirmishes broke out between supporters and opponents of the president. A member of the family that was pepper sprayed told Fox News that the unprovoked attack happened while the family was driving down Fifth Avenue and the car windows were down and Trump flags displayed. The man, who wished to remain anonymous, fearing his family could be targeted, said a car pulled up next to them and unleashed pepper spray into their vehicle. Immediately, the kids started crying and screaming, and I jumped out of the car after I was pepper sprayed as well, the man said. The man said the attacker chased him down the avenue, trying to pepper spray him again. His mother flagged an officer and the suspect was arrested. Wow, it was a woman? Is this some woman who did this? The man told Fox News that the kids are now left traumatized and still coughing from the residue. The encounter was one of many violent confrontations between the rally's participants and protesters. I'm going to stop you right there, Fox. Come on. I know Fox is trying to be better than many of these outlets, but come on. Let me rephrase this. This encounter was one of many violent attacks from far leftists on innocent Trump supporters expressing their First Amendment rights. The Jewish Telegraph Agency reported that a convoy was to take place in several Orthodox Jewish communities ahead of a planned event in Brooklyn's Marine Park. The event was organized by Boris Epstein, an advisor to the Trump campaign and co-chair of Jewish Voices for Trump. I just want to remind everybody, you're allowed to get in your car. You're allowed to wave a flag. You're allowed to drive it. You are not allowed to pepper spray children because you don't like their politics. Multiple disturbing video clips of the convoy posted on NY Scanner show crowds not taking too kindly to rows of vehicles with hoisted Trump flags. In one video, a man can be seen appearing to throw eggs at the convoy in Brooklyn. I believe they filmed themselves throwing the eggs. In another video, pedestrians can be seen appearing to throw rocks at vehicles displaying a Trump flag. This is incredible. This is nuts. The hostility lingered throughout the day. In multiple clips, people can be heard yelling expletives at the Jews for Trump participants. One man on a bike appears so incensed that the pro-Trump vehicles have congested traffic on the Brooklyn highway that he resorts to punching a window. In Manhattan, a woman was arrested for allegedly using pepper spray on the convoy, according to police. Later, a scuffle broke out between the pro and anti-Trump crowd in the middle of the street. Masked protesters could be seen in one clip converging on a vehicle doused in red paint as YMCA is blasting in the background. I guess that's the song of the election for now. Go home. We don't want you here. Somebody in the crowd shouts. Go back to Long Island. I love that. You know what's funny? These people don't realize these Trump supporters probably live in New York. All right. I was putting on an event in the Philadelphia area, a few miles from where I lived, walking distance. I mean, you don't want to walk there, but you could totally walk there because there's only a few miles. Out of town, Antifa organized and threatened to burn down the theater, claiming we don't want this person coming to our town. They came to my town with my event. This is what they do. These people are lunatics. Another video posted on Twitter shows a pro-Trump caravan led by former NYC Mayor Rudy Giuliani being pelted with eggs. In the clip, Giuliani can be seen rolling down the window from the passenger side of a vehicle. He briefly speaks to a police sergeant before the car drives away. Protesters can be heard shouting expletives at the former mayor. Several police officers can be seen struggling to separate the opposing sides before slapping handcuffs on a bicyclist. A scuffle between the opposing. I'm going to stop right there. Okay, we'll read through more, but here's the point I want to make. They keep telling me that it's Antifa, it's the woke, it's the social justice, the critical race theory. These are the people that you oppose, and not Joe Biden. They tell me. Okay, so there was an article written saying, don't vote for Trump if you oppose this because it makes things worse, or, the Antifa will be emboldened, whatever. My response to one of these articles was, I do not believe voting for their candidate supports them to that something, or would stop them. And then the response I got was, I wouldn't vote for Antifa either, as if saying a vote for Joe Biden is not a vote for Antifa. These are regular people on bikes with eggs. These are not organized Antifa waving flags. These are New Yorkers who are insane, and they need to be told to shut up and sit down. You do not have the right to physically attack people, let alone children, with rocks, eggs, and pepper spray. So no, I am not going to vote for their candidate. I'm going to vote for the guy who's promised to put an end to it, because I do not negotiate with terrorists. Listen, maybe a little strong on the terrorist thing, but let me tell you, if you're going to physically attack kids to demand your way in politics, I will do everything to oppose you. Everything. Throwing rocks at cars could kill people. They say police later declared the gathering an unlawful assembly. One of the people arrested on Sunday, a 36-year-old homeless man identified as Devin Harris, is accused of throwing eggs in two police officers' faces and then resisting arrest. This is not just Antifa. Chief Terrence Monahan said later Sunday, the NYPD detectives are investigating the rock throwing incident. I bring you now to a tweet from Yasha Monk. He writes for The Atlantic. He's the founder of Join Persuasion, associate professor at SAIS Hopkins, contributing editor to The Atlantic, and advisor at Protect Democracy. Here's what he said. Illiberalism on the left is a real problem, but voting for Donald Trump to stem the rising tide of illiberalism would be a huge moral and strategic mistake. Thread. Yes, some Democrats are too reluctant to oppose left-wing political violence and call out Antifa. And yes, some on the left are too willing to support censorship in social media, advocate for employees to be fired for conservative views, and to cheer on attacks on free speech. But let me stop real quick. The violence I just showed you was not from Antifa. It was lunatic leftists, run-of-the-mill people who hate Trump, who are getting violent and need to be arrested. Yacha says, 1. Trump presents a serious danger to constitutional values. His bark is much, much louder than his bite, but his actual actions in office have also been utterly unacceptable. Any voter genuinely concerned about the rise of illiberal forces must wish to remove him from office. No. You see, what he's doing now is conflating violence with illiberalism. Yes, Trump has problems. Yes, Trump has barked some pretty crazy things. Trump says he wants, if you burn the American flag, you go to jail. I think that's wrong. I think we have a right to express ourselves so long as it's burned properly, safely, in proper controlled spaces, so you don't burn other people. And so long as you own the flag, by all means, burn it. The problem in this country is you can't do similar things to some symbols that you can to others. We are losing free speech. Now, Donald Trump is not helping when he says this. I don't want less, I want more. However, Donald Trump has moved to ban critical race theory. And now we're hearing that these diversity, equity, inclusion things are being banned at various government agencies and the companies that contract with them, because Trump issued another executive order saying we will not contract with companies that have these programs. Nuked. That's the insane critical race theory stuff that's bringing about neo-segregation. That's what we're seeing in Seattle. I do not want that to exist. I will not vote for Joe Biden, who encourages it, who was part of the Obama administration that helped bring it to fruition. Sorry, that's just me. He goes on to say, parts of the left focus so tightly on America's flaws that they're blind to its strengths. And they believe the right poses such grave danger that even violent resistance is justifiable. Yes, right. Pepper spraying children, they think. Trump does more than anyone else to lend apparent credibility to both of these fallacies. Excuse me? What did Trump do to justify pepper spraying kids? I'll wait. Nothing. Donald Trump can say stupid things, but Middle Eastern peace deals, withdrawing our troops, criminal justice reform, is this a joke? He says if Trump wins re-election, even more people will conclude that deep injustice not only shaped the America's past, but still defines its essence. If a clear majority of Americans turn on Trump, those of us who believe in America's perfectibility can more easily win the argument. This is just a terrible, terrible argument, mind you. He says Trump instills fear, real fear in many Americans. This does not justify anti-vax violence, but it does help explain why so many hesitate to criticize extremists pretending to fight for our noble cause. A Biden victory would make it easier, not harder, to push back against extremists. No, it wouldn't, because Joe Biden would embolden their ideology and has already pandered to it. He would pull back the police and side with the district attorneys that are allowing the rioters to persist. Case in point, the people who are getting violent are in New York City, run by Democrats. I do not believe you solve the problem by saying, let them keep doing it. Now, look, it's an argument, sure, but he's wrong. He's absolutely wrong. Trump isn't the one causing these problems. Now, Trump has problems, and Trump does fan the flames in many circumstances. He does. He didn't create the fire, though. He's not. Listen, the media is what's causing all of this. The media is the one telling you the end is nigh. And these people are going insane because of the media, not Donald Trump. And the media has been doing this gradually for a long time. He says, there really are illiberal tendencies on the left. We all should do more to fight them. But voting for Trump to stem the rising tide of illiberalism is about as pure an example of cutting off your nose to spite your face as political life can afford. Vote Joe Biden, end. He says, please share the article, please vote, and please stand up for philosophically liberal values, not just once every 4 years, but every day. Hey, that's a good idea. If only the actual left stood up for liberal values, which they don't. You see, the left is no longer liberal, and that includes Joe Biden. I mean, not like Joe Biden ever really was truly a liberal. I don't know what you'd call him, but he's certainly far from liberal. Maybe he just wants to adopt the liberal name, but he's not. The left is illiberal. The entirety of the left. Regular people who oppose Trump throwing things at cars are not just Antifa. So here we have his article from The Atlantic. Trump is the best candidate for the illiberal left. If you hate wokeness, you should vote for Joe Biden. He said, let me read you the first paragraph. A number of influential commentators who firmly opposed Donald Trump in 2016 recently announced their intention to vote for him in 2020. Nearly all of them, including James Lindsay, Danielle Pletka, and Ben Shapiro, blamed illiberalism on the left. As Shapiro said on his popular show, he's planning to vote for Trump because Democrats have lost their effing minds. It is not just about illiberalism. It is well beyond illiberalism. It is the cult of intersectionality. It is neo-racial segregation. But he mentions James Lindsay. James Lindsay talks about critical race theory. And here's Sexy James Lindsay, binary math mind. That's his Twitter name. Take it up with him. Here's his response. Yasha Monk, who said if Trump wins re-election, even more people will conclude there is that deep injustice not only shaped America, but America's past, but still defines its essence. James said, this relies upon the central premise of critical race theory applied to Trump. It doesn't reject it for the cynical error or lie that it is. That premise is that Trump's election was a meaningful signal that Americans are secretly racist and white supremacist and want to be. It's not true. The real problem is the media and the cult of intersectionality. These lunatics who think Donald Trump is a Klan member or something, and he's not. He's actually fairly progressive on social issues, the first president to support gay marriage before becoming president. Donald Trump moved left on many issues socially that allowed liberals to vote for him. Check out Jack Murphy's book, Democrat to Deplorable. Jack Murphy straight up said he's glad that Republicans have finally, that Donald Trump came out in favor of gay marriage because it was one of the issues that allowed him to actually vote for the man. Because there are many people who have libertarian values like, hey man, let people do their thing and have equal rights and love each other, who would prefer sound financial policy, sound immigration policy, nonviolence, etc. Instead, what's happened is, what I think we're actually seeing with Trump is liberals, conservatives, moderates, people who pay attention to the news, who believe in freedom of the individual, but also love this country, are slowly banding together. Now, there are resistance Democrat types that might fall into some of those categories in some capacity, but they're not paying attention, which is why you see so many people say that in 2016, they hated Trump and then they watched the news and now they're for Trump. There's a viral tweet right now of a woman who's got two tweets side by side. In 2016, she said, I want Trump to be destroyed. I want his business and his name ruined. And then in 2020, she said, I'll crawl over broken glass to vote for Donald Trump. People are sharing that tweet around. I don't know who this individual is. It's just an example, but I can tell you this. There's someone I know and met at a Black Lives Matter protest who, this was, I think, 2014, posting nonstop about Black Lives Matter. Donald Trump won, and she was posting a bunch of anti-Trump stuff. And then just recently I noticed she started posting a bunch of pro-Trump stuff. And so I DM'd her and I'm like, what is this? Like we met at a Black Lives Matter protest and now you hated Trump. Now you're for him. And she went on to explain that Trump is doing a lot of things. She started paying attention. Almost every single story I hear about walk away is someone who said they started paying attention and researching for themselves and they realized the media was lying. And the media is lying now. This article from Yasha Monk, in my opinion, is an attempt to convince people like you or I, who may be moderate right, moderate left, centrist, or whatever, that the real choice is Joe Biden, and here's why. It's not true. Joe Biden is negotiating with them. Perhaps, if Joe Biden wins, the violence may simmer down a little bit. Probably not completely, but a little bit. You know why? Because his solution is to negotiate with them and give them what they want. They have talked about it. They're talking about it now. Just the other day, I did a segment on Jacobin magazine getting censored on Facebook. The segment they had posted was a video, talked about whether or not Bernie could shift the Biden, or progressives could shift the Biden administration. Joe Biden has already shifted on many policy issues for the far left. Now, they don't consider themselves far left. They say that Joe Biden is right and Bernie Sanders is a centrist. That's just not true. It's all part of the propaganda to shift the wheel. Depending on how you look at it, there's the political compass, which is economic cooperation versus competition, and authority versus liberty. Bernie Sanders is fairly far left. He's a socialist. He wants worker control of production. They call him a centrist because they're trying to shift the Overton window to the far left. Ideologically, there's the cultural far left as well, which is also gaining major ground. A vote for Joe Biden will shift the Overton window so far to the left, Joe Biden will be the far right candidate from then on. It will absolutely obliterate any kind of moderate conservatism, centrist, or even center-left position. Center leftists will all of a sudden find themselves as right-wing, like they already kind of are. There needs to be a yanking back of the Overton window. When they say that Tucker Carlson is far right and Tucker Carlson's moderate, you have to wonder what they're really talking about. Perhaps talking about in terms of the revolution. Far right meaning how much do they oppose the revolution, and far left meaning how much do they support it. In which case the Boogaloo Boys are far left. So which definition are they using? I will tell you this. I will not stand for videos of people throwing rocks at cars or stories of children being pepper sprayed by lunatic leftists that aren't Antifa because they hate Trump. Now, Antifa might want Trump because they want to get these lunatic leftists on their side. You know what, man? I've said it before and I'll say it again. The left has gone so insane that regular people are going to start demanding law and order, and they're going to get it from Trump and no one else. And then we're going to see more federal authority. We're going to see more police authority, and these things are problems. What we need right now is the enforcement of existing law. It is illegal to pepper spray into someone's car, okay, let alone kids. Well, I guess this lady got arrested. But the DA, the district attorneys in many different jurisdictions are cutting people loose instead of prosecuting them. And thus people are saying we want more law and order. There's going to be a recoil effect because most people want to be left alone. I'm sure a lot of people are sick of the media screaming in their face, and they're sick of the rioters, and they're saying, please just make it stop. Some of those people might vote for Biden, saying just give in to the terrorists. Do what they want. Make it go away, please. Other people more like me, are saying, Trump, here's the hammer. Deal with it. I do not negotiate with terror. If you want to use violence, threat, coercion, cancel culture to force your political goals upon me, I will do the opposite. No, I will not vote for Joe Biden. I'm going to vote for Trump and the Republicans for the first time in my life. Down ticket, Republican, president, Senate, Congress, all that stuff. I did vote already. That's what I did. I'm not going to vote for Joe Biden. I'm not going to give you what you want because you refuse to call these people out. You want to say it's just the illiberal left, but you're ignoring the fact that wokeness is a cult, and they have actively voted, the Democrats did, to repeal civil rights law in California. I refuse this. I reject this, and I will not allow it to spread nationally. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. on at youtube.com/Timcast, which is a different channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.